Hello and welcome to the Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is Peter Lavelle, co-founder of the Gaggle and host of RT's talk show Crosstalk. Well, today is a very big day. First, it's the day after the night before, and to no one's surprise, certainly not to our surprise, it looks very much as if the Republicans have lost both Senate runoffs in Georgia, which means that it's likely that the Democrats will control the Senate because a 50-50 split, and therefore the vice president will be the deciding vote, which means the Democrats now control the presidency, the Senate, and the House. We said that Republicans have very little chance of winning elections when Donald Trump is not on the ticket. We saw this in 2018 in the midterms. We saw that they did extremely well in November, not losing a single House seat, and looked at least then that they would control the Senate. It's noticeable that that they have done worse. The Republicans in these Senate races did worse yesterday than they did in January. So again, without Trump on the ticket, they do worse in the election. So there's that. And then, of course, today is the big day when the Congress will sit jointly and college. We know that there's already massive demonstrations within Washington of Trump supporters demanding that Congress not certify the electors from the states in which there are very serious allegations of malfeasance, to say the least. As things stand, we know that there are more than 100 House Republicans who will just Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, and Nevada. So 6 states, the Republicans will object to those. However, as far as the senators are concerned, so far only 3 senators have come forward to object to 3 separate states, and they are Arizona, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. Maybe that'll change because it starts sometime this afternoon in DC. The outcome is, not really in serious doubt. Nonetheless, I think this will be an important exercise in presenting to the American public what an absolute shambles November's election was. And that, again, America is going to go on these global democratic crusades, then it really cannot have elections that would be regarded as a joke in the most backward of backwaters in the world. Okay, Peter, what's your take?
Well, my first take from all of this is, where's the Republican Party? Okay. I mean, you and I have been talking about this for weeks right now. I mean, do they back Trump or they do not back Trump? And that is the really big question here. The candidates that were run in Georgia, my goodness, 2 pathetic candidates. And then the Democrats candidates were pathetic too. Okay, Republicans, cookie cutter Republicans. I mean, bland. Not particularly bright, not inspiring. Loeffler, I mean, she's the richest woman in Congress. Okay, what is her worth? Is like $500 million or something, and that's just her, not her husband. Okay, that's why she got it. Okay, that's why she was given the seat. This is her first rodeo. Okay, I mean, she didn't win anything. Okay, and I mean, I watched some of her debates. I mean, they were embarrassing. And then this other guy, Wilnock, I mean, this guy is what is it? He reminds me of a snake oil salesman, okay? And also, I mean, who the hell is this guy? What has he ever done? And just another
Yeah.
empty, smooth talker. And Perdue, well, I mean, he's just an embarrassment to all politics, okay? The guy is just an utter joke, okay? And so all four candidates, okay, were, in my opinion, jokes. But the Republican Party didn't pull it off because the Republican Party doesn't know what to think about Trump. That's their problem, okay? Now, if both seats are lost and the control of the Senate goes to the Democrats, the steal the vote mantra is going to be on steroids because they're going to say the whole thing is lost. Okay. So,
Okay.
I mean, well, we don't know what Pence is going to do. I have no idea what he's going to do. I think he's sitting on the fence here, irrespective of what he does. Okay, the any kind of consensus about what November meant is it's already been shattered. Okay, these are turbulent times, and it's going to get worse here. One thing, and this is something you and I probably disagree on, I think this is going to really embolden the progressives in the Democratic Party because it's obvious they got 2 years. And they got 2 years to make the new man. They got 2 years to remake the country here. And not all Democrats are on board for that. Okay, you're on board for it to get power. Once you get power, you're a different political animal. That's the nature of politics here. And all of this is going to be focused, all of this will focus on 2022, which, if given his history and if we can get a fair election again, the Democrats could lose the House of Representatives. So the clock is ticking in their mind. You know, AOC and the rest of them say, you know, we've got, you know, what, 700 days to change the world, okay? Not all Democrats are on board for that, okay? Not at all. So, and then you're going to have infighting there. And I have to wonder if there's ever going to be a Newt Gingrich level postmortem of what this year meant for the Republican Party, because they got to get their act together. Okay, they are all over the place here, and you know how, as well as I do, the day of reckoning. You have to get rid of this libertarian element of the party, and you have to embrace populism, or it's over. It's end game. Okay, one part. Yeah.
Well, I think that's right. I think that Mitch McConnell devastated. He failed in ensuring that the checks were actually sent out. $2,000 were sent out to the suffering Americans. He rushed to Congress just in order to override Trump's veto on an absolutely lousy defense bill, override it particularly when included within that bill was provision that there'll be no U.S. withdrawals from Afghanistan, Germany, or anywhere, and the bill that Trump had inserted, which is to remove Section 230 immunity for big tech. So here are Republicans complaining bitterly about what big tech is doing to them, with some justice. And then when they have an opportunity to do something about it, they rush in to override Trump's veto. So McConnell, believing that he has some sort of a shot at winning in Georgia, just shows how deluded he is. And then they send Karl Rove, an absolute loser, the kind of classic Republican establishment loser. You know, these are the kind of, you know, the losses of McCain, of Romney, Paul Ryan. This Rove goes in there, spends I don't know how many billions of dollars in Georgia. I mean, the Republicans poured a lot of money into that, and they couldn't beat somebody like Warner, as you say, he's a snake oil salesman. I mean, he kind of reminds me of Larry David's sidekick, and so kind of almost a sort of comic figure. And exactly. And so now, you know, the Republican, these leaders who are somehow rejoicing, oh, great, Trump's out of the way. Now we can go back to the good old days. It just shows how deluded they are. There are no good old days. You know, going back to Romney and McCain, partly because the Republican base isn't going to put up with it, but precisely because you lose. No one is going to vote for Romney and McCain. They just don't have and unquote, endless military spending, endless military intervention, is just not a package anyone's going to vote for.
Exactly. And this is what's so astounding in the moment that we're living in here is that people respond to Trump. They respond to his vision, as however you want to define that, which is difficult to define, but it's something that they react to. They don't react to these these cutout cardboard figures. They just don't. Okay, and it's hard to get people to go out and vote in a runoff election like this, and even more so is when none of your candidates are attractive. As a matter of fact, they're buffoonish and clownish. Okay, and I saw Karl Rove out there trying to be he was called George W. Bush's brain. Well, what he was saying was brainless, as far as I could tell, with his whiteboard, okay? Because you're right. These are old strategies. Does Karl Rove have any idea what happened in 2016? I guess not, okay? Right. And they have learned nothing since over the last 4 years. And the Republican Party is going to pay dearly for this, because it's not an exaggeration. Open borders, packing the court. I mean, like I said, there's going to be a feeling of immediacy. Okay, and you know what is going to happen, George, if the second seat falls to the Democrats? I hate to tell you this, and I want our viewers to listen to this sitting down. We're going to hear Kamala Harris cackling for the next 4 years as head of the Senate.
Right. Okay. that's exactly the
story about freedom. Okay. Yes, I mean, so you have basically a serial plagiarist, okay, with a cackle. That's the future of the Senate, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. And obviously, they're going to, the first order of business, they will get rid of the filibuster. So that means that they only need essentially 51 votes in the Senate. And then immigration amnesty. I mean, that's the key thing, because then you've got 20, 30 million, who knows how many, ready Democratic voters. And thereby they will enshrine a permanent Democratic majority. So the Republicans really have, shot themselves in the foot. And so McConnell, who really is an absolute disgrace. I mean, the idea that he's sort of majority leader, or now he's going to be minority leader. I mean, he led his party into this debacle, because those Georgia runoffs, all they needed was to win one of them. And now it looks as if they've lost both.
George,
it's an absolute disgrace.
If this were like Iowa or Ohio, I can understand. This is Georgia. Right. This is Georgia. This is by definition a red state. What happened to the Republican Party? Well, it's because they want to run as Mitt Romney. Okay, it's just in their genetic code. They want to run like Mitt Romney and John McCain. Okay. That's not that's not why Republicans won in 2016. That's why Republicans won in 2020. They didn't lose one congressional seat.
Right.
It was Mitt and all of these people here. The people have projected out of hand. I don't know if you read. I read in Fox News, Mitt Romney was getting on a plane, and one of his constituents came up to him and just railed against him. And then when he got on the plane, people railed against him. Okay.
Right. No, yes, that's exactly right. And what is now particularly striking is that they didn't support Trump in his arguments about the steal. The fraud. They said, "Oh no, nothing good." When quite obviously, these procedures have been rigged in a way that is favorable to the Democrats, unfavorable to Republicans, and now they hoist by their own petard, because if they now try to complain, "Hey, we was robbed in Georgia," the company will now turn around and say, "Yeah, but look at all these irregularities, and we have this mail-in thing. This really wasn't a very good idea." They were so eager to get rid of that they basically shot themselves in the foot. I mean, shot themselves in the foot because they can't win without him, but they shot themselves in the foot by not agreeing with him and arguing with him that this election was a fraud. So now they don't have any sort of recourse.
But what's really dangerous moving forward, not only this agenda that could be introduced controlling both houses and the White House, is that, George, will there be any election reform? Will there be any introspection about what happened in November and in this week? That's, and you know what that's going to do? That's going to polarize the country more and more. Half the country is going to say, what's the point in voting? I'm disenfranchised. And it's the Democrats always talk about voter suppression. Wow, that's pretty rich these days.
Right. No, that's right. No, there was nothing at all, because this really worked very nicely for the Democrats. I mean, and the Democrats played this very, very cleverly, because they suddenly raised this issue. Oh, we can't possibly have an election, an in-person voting, because of COVID. and oh, yeah, you're right, absolutely right. Whereas you could have asked, well, why not? I mean, people are still going out. They're still, going to the shops, buying things. People are still going to work. Why can't you go, once a year to vote? No. No in-person voting.
Why couldn't they call up Walmart and say, could we use part of your store as a polling venue? Because, let people go shopping and then they can go vote. But no, having a polling station in a school, that's not safe. But I bet if you had a polling station in Walmart, it would be considered fine. None of this makes any sense.
None. But they knew that once you had mail-in voting, and then you remove all of the security guarantees, well, this is what you're going to get. And so this election was a complete debacle. Now, the Democrats don't have any incentive in looking into this, because, well, why would they? Hey, it worked very nice for us. Why would we want to? Republicans do win the House in 2022, no doubt they'll have hearings about it. But it doesn't matter. You can have hearings. You still can't pass any legislation, because Biden is in the, or Biden or Harris or where is in the Oval Office, and any legislation they're just going to veto. So that's pretty much it. I mean, other than the protests, which will continue to mount in the country, because I think there would be rage. What is the point of having elections if the result is preordained?
Okay, we can finish up on this here because we're going to talk later about this during the week. But my parting thought is that if you look at the McConnells of the Republican Party, they're not interested in ruling. They're not. Actually, they prefer to be in opposition, okay? Because there's fundraising, and then you can always criticize the administration. Of course, that's what the opposition is supposed to do. But that part of the Republican Party is very, very comfortable with being in opposition. They don't like responsibility, and then this is why the Republican Party, if it wants to be relevant, has to from the ground up has to rethink everything about itself here, because if you and that rethinking should be based on the election patterns of 2016 and 2020. What was the appeal? It wasn't the old guard. It wasn't your old garbage zombie ideology. It was a populist strain that attracted people. But they're so in bed with their special interests and their donors and all of that, they can't think beyond that, okay? Because most of the senators that will be the Republican senators will say, well, it works for me, and that's all. It works for them, okay?
No, I think that's a very good point. Yeah, because Trump reinvented the Republican Party, because this was a party that couldn't win elections. He reinvented it by adopting a new agenda, a kind of nationalist, populist agenda, embracing new issues such as trade, immigration, non-intervention, non-activist foreign policy. Warmed over meeting to get rid of Trump and Trumpism. Well, you know, their wish has come true, and they're facing a complete debacle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Of course, maintain our laser-like focus, particularly as today is a very, very big day, and we shall, of course, be covering it. So thank you very much, Peter. And remember, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.